Dynamite Download.
Dynamite Download, your home for all positive coverage on all elite wrestling. Special event, as you can see, SPD. We were born badass.
To see the height and to see the commitment and to see the drive. We'll see, yours truly, without a signature shade, SPD once again. January recruitment month for them.
You know, I come along in the
Well, you know, actually, I didn't do that. I was thinking
Dynamite, all three in the flesh.
Have to do an interview with those guys. You know why? Because they spread positivity about AEW.
Welcome to Dynamite Download.
We're back, baby.
Back.
I was just looking back.
I was doing a little of the Angelico shuffle there with the intro.
I missed those, man. I missed those Friday night flights and fights with those dance party breaks. And it's nice that Joe emerged from the scenes after a little month off and got me a little dancing and excited last week for sure. But thank you, Mindrunner, for joining us here in episode 86 for Dynamite Download. We're back in the saddle, and I think we're really going to start heating up this summer in AEW with some of the stuff that they announced for shows. Exactly. Absolute Mindrunner over there. And, myself and Crayfish are going to be in Grand Rapids for Battle of the Belts next Friday in a live Rampage. So we got some exciting stuff coming for that. So we're really looking forward to that. But this show, in a company that is so heavily favored for tag teams, no tag matches in this show, but man, it delivered. I was reading comments all day today about how this was one of the best Dynamites that they've had today. What did you think?
I agree 1,000%. This was one of the most packed. So much happened in last night's episode, and in my opinion, it's one of the best episodes they've had all year. And we're going to get into the details on that. And it's interesting what you just said about the tag team thing, because although they kind of dipped their toe in a little tag team stuff, there wasn't a whole lot of actual tag team storylines going on. A taste. You got a taste. Just a taste of it. Just a taste. But yeah, we loved it. My watch party, we had a blast watching last night, and so many things happened. So many storylines got pushed into many different directions, and I'm excited to talk about it. Thanks for having me.
I can't take credit for this photo collage, but someone posted it, and it really sums up a lot of things, like so many layers to this. And this was a pretty much, I was talking to Crayfish, that an SPD special, because Jericho Appreciation Side, even though I'm wearing my Inner Circle shirt, I need to get a Jericho Appreciation shirt. It was pretty much a Jericho driven episode. You're talking about him coming out at the beginning and the end, Sammy, you have Garcia as well. And so it was very heavily top to bottom that, and I loved it. And let's dive into the first match, kicking things off in a big, big way with John Moxley and Roosh. Man, this was a very, very heavy-hitting match, as expected in any Moxley match. But I think really this helped, not that he wasn't already on the map, it helped put Roosh on the map even more, that he can hold his own. And, I mean, he could be a convincing heavyweight contender, throughout his time here in AEW, man. They really, the announcer team, I got to give credit to them. They did a great job hyping up Roosh. And, I mean, we've seen him battle. And then I didn't catch his match at Ring of Honor, but the highlights I did see, it was pretty impressive. But this was brutal, and a sucker for good chops in a match, and this delivered about 40 chops each, it seemed like.
Big time. I agree 1,000%. I didn't get a chance to check out the Ring of Honor pay-per-view either, but the highlights, and just from what I've seen before of Roosh, I kept calling him Rush, and probably a shout out to the fan that had the I'm here to see Geddy Lee and Neil Peart, that because you're calling him Rush instead of Roosh. But I feel like, and this is a common theme I think in the whole episode last night, but even though John Moxley got the W, this was a Roosh showcase. I mean, this really showcased a lot of how powerful Roosh was, and it really, I don't think he came off as a loser, even though he didn't get the W. And I feel like it's interesting to see how they're going to develop this going forward. And of course, we're at the end. We got the Lucha Brothers coming out, and
my favorite.
Yes. So we Cero Nieto, and we'll see how that's going to transpire going forward. But yeah, tremendous. And then, as you said, after John Moxley got the W, what did we hear? We got a taste. We got a taste.
Sports entertainers making their way down to the ring.
Sports entertainers.
I love that intro that Daddy Magic does every time.
I hear he does it live, or he does it live every time. Like he actually gets a hot mic and cuts it live. Or I don't know if that's true or not anymore, but for a while there, I think he was backstage, which is interesting. Did we get to see him at all? Was he the only JAS member that wasn't, or JAS member that wasn't seen? I think so.
That's correct. Yeah, because we did see Big Hager under the ring later in the show, and Sammy, and obviously Garcia. So everyone except him was there last night. But a little bit surprised, and I'm glad they're going this route. I mean, Jericho is the top of his game right now in a MJF-less AEW right now. You have Christian Cage really filling a void of a massive heel roll that is really cutting deep. And Jericho, obviously he can do no wrong both ways. The guy is just $1 million, and I'm glad we're going to be seeing him contend for the interim championship because he's on fire. Jericho Appreciation Society is on fire right now. I would love to see 2.0 now that they're ranked number 5 get a title shot. Especially maybe at Battle of the Belts, that give us a nice taste. That'd be fun. But
a taste
overall, I mean, yeah, a big taste for sure. I was happy, and that was a great back and forth promo. The addition of Anna Jay is a welcome. I think she was long overdue for a character change, and this is working. I think her mic skills are still very, very green, but her pairing with Ty Conti is going to really – it helped out a lot early on, and it's going to rekindle that as well. And I think she's going to work really well together as Ty kind of carrying the load and the veteran and the experience with that. But the Moxley and Jericho back and forth promo was fantastic. And
absolutely.
I'm so glad they gave him essentially a blank slate of time and it wasn't rushed.
Absolutely. And again, I love this, the dichotomy of this storyline. It divides the sports entertainment with pro wrestling, which, they're definitely parroting something that I'm going to talk about a little bit later too in my hot take. But in general, this WWE versus AEW. I love that Angelo Parker calls it the AEW galaxy. There's a lot of that tongue-in-cheek stuff, I think it needs to be said because really, and truthfully, there are two kinds of wrestling, and we can enjoy both. But you've got that sports entertainment side, and then you got that pro wrestling side that Moxley gets into. A little bit on Anna Jay. I feel like it's the right move. They kind of painted themselves in a corner. It's a shame because Dark Order's dropping like flies. I mean, now they're down to like 5 members or maybe Heyman. We're going to talk about later, but I feel like Anna Jay. This is something needs to happen. Plus, if she's going to help develop her mic skills, she's got Uncle Jericho right there to help her with that. It's interesting that she's now called Anna J. Ass, I think is what it is, or J. Jazz. I think that's gonna. I don't know. She might want to rethink that part, but I feel like this is going to move forward. Plus, I feel like we're going to talk about another set of new titles that got introduced tonight. But I feel like down the road they're setting things up for women's tag titles, and they needed Ty J together before they pulled the trigger on that.
Yeah, and we're going to be seeing that next week, which could have been a pay-per-view quality match, which we're going to get on free TV on Dynamite with the Thunder Rosa or the Thunderstorm versus DMD and Hayter, which is going to be a fantastic showcase of the women's division. But one of the more interesting storylines last night was the Starks saga. I mean,
oh my goodness.
I absolutely, the guy just overfills with charisma. This guy is a superstar through and through. I mean, he carries himself like a superstar. He talks the talk, walks the walk. And I mean, just look at his facial expressions there. He's always so good at that. And he can carry himself in the ring. And that vignette before his match was so amazing, spot on, really well shot. I absolutely loved it. I thought this was so great. But the whole segment, it's so many ups and downs throughout that whole 10, 15 minutes, man. Personally, I'm not on the Danhausen bandwagon, so I was happy to see Starks go through them pretty.
You should be cursed.
Yes, I don't want to get cursed by him. But I was happy to see Starks go through. But then I was like, the wheels started turning. I was like, wait, he's doing a challenger, and Hook and Danhausen were tag partners, and it's all this, and it's all coming together. And I was like, it's got to be Hook. It's got to be Hook. And then sure enough, it was Hook. But happy for Hook. And, you know, we interviewed Brian Cage, and he was, you know, the last FTW championship, and the last match he had was with Ricky Starks for that FTW championship in AEW. And so to kind of, it needed a refresher, in my opinion. I saw something on Twitter, maybe you saw it today, but the FTW has been defended more than the WWE world title since summer or since WrestleMania. So it's been defended 4 times, and the world championship at WWE has only been defended once. But what did you think of, I guess, you know, whatever. What's your take on Danhausen and then Hook's championship, and then we could talk about what happened after the match.
Well, Danhausen, yes, very nice, very evil. He's a wrestler of some sort, and multi-millionaire, billionaire with his belt. And Danhausen actually is one of those. He's kind of like Orange Cassidy and Abaddon, where you're not, I won't say limited, but you don't want to overplay them too much. You don't want to oversaturate with Danhausen, but he works how he's working right now. If you remember when Orange Cassidy was first introduced, he didn't wrestle. He just showed up, and then finally he was going to try. And they had that one dark match where he finally tagged in and went up against Pac and TH2. Danhausen's kind of like that. He's filling that role. He always gets a huge pop. He can take an L like this and still be Danhausen. There's no, there's no, and there was no doubt that Ricky was going to retain FTW, but I was thinking something was going to happen where maybe Hobbs and Starks were going to try to beat up Danhausen, and then Hook was going to come out and have to make a choice. But I love how this entire thing went. Starting with the Ricky Starks promo, and I know that a lot of times he gets compared to like he's like a young skinny Rock, or you know they try to make comparisons. I think he's cutting his own way at this point. He's Ricky Starks when he's becoming that superstar, and he's outgrown the FTW belt at this point.
Agreed.
And I felt like it was the perfect move. Hook's the perfect person to take it off. I mean, kind of like we talked about before with Brian. Well, you guys talked with Brian Cage, is that the whole FTW Team Taz thing. I think it's kind of run its course, and I think that's what kind of was happening here. They did so many things. You got this promo with Ricky Starks. You put Hook over. Danhausen still got the pop. You put Hook over, and now you've got Hobbs turning on Ricky Starks. So there's so many storylines going on. Tremendous, everything clicked, and Ricky still is up. He didn't lose anything by this other than losing the belt. He didn't lose any face. He still looks like a star. So now it's like, what's next for Ricky? He's got to deal with Hobbs, the fallout from that. But are we going to see Ricky versus Wardlow for TNT title, or are we going to see him in the main event picture?
That's a good question for sure. Eventually, but you could feel the crowd getting on the Ricky Starks bandwagon train for weeks and weeks and weeks now. Even months ago, I would say it was hinting there. And so he's naturally someone you want to root for just because of his confidence that he has, and it's so fun to root for him. And so I think Hobbs wasn't necessary. I love the combo of those two guys, and I was hoping for them to take the tag belts for a little bit, just because a big fan of Hobbs. And I think finally Hobbs is ready to stand on his own. And I know he was in the group and stuff, and still I don't know where they're going to go with him, if he's going to still be like a Team Taz kind of henchman or what. But I think being with Ricky and having that promo support throughout over the last 6 months, a year, Hobbs has grown a lot, because we've seen Hobbs talk more. And so now I think he's ready to stand on his own. But Ricky, of course, can always stand on his own. Some great stuff, a lot of fresh storylines coming for sure. And I'm interested. I think right now Ricky's going to try to get his revenge a little bit, but and AEW is not shy about pitting together a babyface versus babyface. Hence, we saw Wardlow and Orange Cassidy. I don't want Ricky to go into a match where he's destined to lose, even versus Wardlow. No one's stopping Wardlow anytime soon. Even if Ricky got a world title shot against Moxley, I think that would still be interesting. And I know he's not going to beat Mox yet, at least. It would be cool to see him get his world title shot on that.
Absolutely. I absolutely. Yes, exactly. I do think that whole segment was built around pushing Ricky Starks and getting it everybody's head that he's going to be a single star. But you're right. You got it. The most fun is in the chase, and putting him against Wardlow or putting him in that title picture right now, it's going to deflate the momentum. You got to let this feud go through. They know what they're doing. They got long-term plans for this kid, and it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time he's going to get that gold around his waist.
You're absolutely right on that one for sure. Two of my favorite in-ring performers, Sammy Guevara and Dante Martin. The fact that, well, Sammy, happy birthday to him, turned 29 today, and Dante is still probably not, I don't even know if he's 21 yet, but even if he is or is not, but Sammy's heel work in this match was spot on. It was so funny, like halfway through, early on, walking away, like, I don't need this, heel 101, and just the cockiness to the camera. But yeah, I've said this before, and I said it again. I said it separately when these guys have fought, or like we're in singles separately. But these two AEW superstars are reasons why tickets are sold to see a live event. To watch the spectacle of these two guys in the ring, the amount of agility, the air, the heart they have, the effort, the risk that they're taking. It's hard to betray all that on TV. When you see what they do in person, it's unbelievable. And so, if Dante Martin ever is going to become a champion in AEW, I mean, the kid is so young, and the sky, literally the limit. He can touch the sky. It's incredible work that he's doing. And I think this is going to be fun to set up, hopefully, another intergender match that we, kind of hinting at that, and, couple versus couple. But it's one of those, just one of those, I was glued to the TV screen. And I was like, what are they going to do next? Something, because these guys always give me something I've never seen before. And it was just a lot of fun. Great pairing.
Tremendous. There's some wrestlers, there's some like matches that you don't have to set up. You don't have to put any kind of storyline behind. You just say the names and it's going to be a killer match. You just, and Dante Martin, Sammy Guevara, no matter what the storyline is, it's going to be flip, jumping up, doing crazy crap throughout the whole match. And that's exactly what they got. Yeah. I do like Full Tilt Dead disagrees with me on this, but I actually really like Sammy Guevara as a heel. I think he works better as a heel. And I think Ty is starting to really embrace the heelism. I mean, she's almost Vicky Guerrero level annoying a little bit at this point. I mean, in a good way, where you love her, but it's that kind of thing. But I feel like it's working. But both of these athletes are tremendous. And, Sammy clinched that whole thing when he took on Cody in that ladder match and did that cutter off the top. All of those things. And you just knew this was going to be tremendous. I do like the fact that they kind of added Sky Blue. I wish she would have done more. I feel like she might have been deer in the headlights a little bit, but
she looked scared a little bit. Yeah.
Like this was her first time, but I think that just like AEW with a lot of these folks, give them time, and give her another year. She'll be feeling good. But I like that whole thing, how it was set up. Both guys tremendous. Sammy doing the I don't need this match and trying to walk off. That was tremendous. Dante doing that.
I was cracking up on that part.
Crazy dive off the ramp. Both of these are two crazy athletes that defy gravity, and they went head to head. And then, of course, the fallout again. So many storylines are coming out of these matches, and featuring the JAS once again.
The landscape is changing.
The landscape. It's a landscape there, SBD. It's but yeah, who comes out? Of course, Anna J. Ass. She comes out, and then of course, who comes to rescue? Ruby Soho, Eddie Kingston, and Ortiz, aka I guess his nickname is Monkey now. That's what Eddie calls him.
Yeah.
But so now we're setting up. You got Ruby Soho, and she's probably going to tag with somebody to take on Anna Jay. And I know they got the Rampage match with her and Anna Jay, but she's going to need to tag with somebody to go against Ty J. So they're kind of setting it up. Now, I don't know if that's going to be Sky Blue, but the rumors that I've heard of somebody named Dakota Kai might be heading to AEW. I don't know. It's a possibility. It could be. It's rumors. It's rumors.
Okay.
I don't know.
You got
so much is set up. Well, the dirt sheets. It's what I read in the dirt sheets there, SPD. The dirt sheets. They always tell the truth. So,
I feel like this episode is the first acceleration to All Out because they're creating so many new avenues. There's no clear picture. AEW has been notorious to not announce things super far in advance.
yeah.
And I think, All Out is a little over a month away, and there's no clear direction of who's going to fight who. Is CM Punk going to be back? We're seeing the Undisputed come back, which will kind of transition to that right now, is the trios topic.
Yes.
But this episode, I think, is really going to start leading the charge into All Out. But this was this should have been more of a bigger announcement, in my opinion. One of those in-ring ones. Like, we got a special announcement. Tony Khan should have came out, because I think this is one of the belts that we've all been clamoring for, especially here at Dynamite Download, is the trios, because of the depth of the roster and the depth of the tag division and the depth of the stables. This is going to be a lot of fun. I think, Tony Khan got a taste of that at the Ring of Honor show, the trios, and now AEW is finally going to bring this stuff. But so many things, they're obviously early on, Death Triangle seemed like the shoe-in favorite, especially us here at Dynamite Download. But, Pac doing his own thing, and Lucha Brothers kind of involved in the other stuff. Right off the top of your head, I'm sure you've had a time to marinate this. Who do you want to be the first trios champion?
Well, my first instinct, House of Black. That's where I went as soon as I saw those. And you're right. I wanted to say something, too, because of how they were just kind of, we got these titles here at our desk. By the way, we got trios titles. I was watching Excalibur and Jade at the desk, and I said, hey, there's some new belts. Oh, there's 3 of them. Oh, we got trios. Instead of actually having some kind of formal ceremony, they did more for the Owen Hart belts than they did for the trios. Maybe they'll do something like at the end of the tournament, but it was very matter of fact. It felt like it did need some more pomp and circumstance. But I want to take back my House of Black pick because of what happened later on, the storyline that's going on with, and this may be where you're going too, the Young Bucks. They're on they lost the titles. They're kind of depressed until Brandon Cutler mentioned the trios titles. They perked up. And who did they run into backstage? But Hangman, the Hangman. And then there was this moment where Hangman was about to talk to him, and then Dark Order shows up, and it became kind of this, this will they, won't they, kind of like when, you stop talking to a friend, but are you going to still talk to them? What's going on with that? But also, right. and I do agree with the Soup. Was that the Soup that said that Undisputed Elite? They're coming back. I do feel like it's probably going to end up going to Cole, Fish, and O'Reilly. I think that's who it's going to end up being. You agree? No?
I hope, because I'm a big Young Bucks fan, heel or babyface, and I do think they are the best tag team in AEW. It's a close second. Lucha Brothers, FTR, all those 3 are very, very, very close. But to me, Young Bucks still take the cake. But I think if you've been watching BTE, you've seen all these seeds planted with the Hangman and the Young Bucks. It's been so fun. If you haven't watched it, you guys almost got to go back and watch the text message. They delete the text message, and then the Hangman by the curtain when the Young Bucks are leaving the ring. Did you see that part on BTE?
Yeah, and did you see? Was it? I think it was 2 weeks ago. Tony Schiavone was getting ready to interview Hangman, and he had his phone. He was, I was just about to send, and then he puts his phone away. If those of you watching BTE, you knew he was getting ready to text Matt, and that's the storylines that you just love. It rewards you. You don't, the casual fan may not get it, but it rewards you for that extra, for being kind of on the inside. If you watch the extra stuff, you kind of go, that's what that is. That's great stuff. Great stuff.
They could pull a big time swerve. I think All Out will feature the Undisputed versus Young Bucks and Hangman. I'm wondering if they're going to wait to announce their last partner just to get that pop of Hangman rejoining, teaming up with the Young Bucks. And if they do wait for that last pop and Hangman does join, I feel like they can't afford to lose, because you're having this friendship rekindle, and then just for them to lose. That way, if they rekindle and win, then they're going to keep pushing and going and going. I would love to see that, but that to me are the two favorite teams for the trios. But you still have a fun tournament. I mean, obviously, best friends early on. Like if trios were going to be a belt, let's say 6 or over a year ago, best friends would have been the shoe-in. And you can throw in obviously the Gun Club would be fun to throw in there with Daddy Ass in there with the Gun Club. The trios tournament I think is going to be a lot of fun. And to me, I would put my money on Young Bucks and Hangman winning this belt at All Out. These belts.
I do see that. I do see that as a possibility. And that's what's so fun about these kind of tournaments is it could go any way. It could go several different ways there. And the roster is deep enough for a bunch of trios. And we have a lot of established trios. Like you said, Best Friends, House of Black, Death Triangle, what have you. Even Dark Order, which again, I'm worried about what's going to happen with Dark Order. And without Anna Jay's guy, they just lost their third member. What's going to happen? But there's that whole storyline. Is Hangman going to choose Dark Order, or is he going to turn on Dark Order to join the Bucks? There's a whole storyline right there. I think that's tremendous.
I love the Dark Order, and we love talking to our chance to interview those guys. I really hope something happens with them. They had that promo, Evil Uno. Even if Evil Uno still takes kind of the leader role, which he did early on, I really did enjoy that. He was a really good job at that. But they should do kind of that recruiting thing. They either need to turn heel and really go on some kind of like angry spree, or they need to do some recruiting because they need to freshen some stuff up. And also, you keep building that tournament, the Factory, it'd be fun to see them. I don't know what they're doing with Anthony Ogogo. I want to see him back in the ring on TV some more, but a lot of stuff. And another trios team was Jurassic Express, with Christian Cage could have been an early favorite, but we saw that turn. But let's talk about that. I want to talk about this impactful promo, and it was really essentially rated R promo, I would say. I was kind of surprised at the word. I was trying to be as PG as possible, but Jungle Boy was anything but PG.
He's not Jungle Boy anymore. He's Jungle Man.
No, he is Jungle P-word man. But so he was really cutting deep, as he should, because Christian Cage held nothing back in the past weeks, what he was doing to him and saying to him and everything about that. And so I think Jungle Boy is finally getting more and more reps. I hope Christian Cage was kind of coaching him, and that was one of, I guess, a chink in his armor that some people said was his promo skills, and I think he kind of silenced that pretty quick last night. But the thing I noticed most was Luchasaurus was not staring at the camera. He was pretty much staring a hole through Jungle Boy. I don't think this is over. And I'm a huge Luchasaurus fan. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. If I could be a wrestler and have the skill set, it'd be a Luchasaurus, because he can flip, he can kick, he's got the power, and he's a beast. And I love all that, kind of like Brian Cage's skill set. He's not just a big man. He can do some stuff he shouldn't be able to do as a big man, such as the flips and kicks. But I noticed him staring at him the whole time. And when Luchasaurus turned heel, I absolutely loved it. And so I don't think that's over. And I hope it's not over. What do you think?
I agree 1,000%. Your words were right out of my mouth there. Luchasaurus turning heel, right? See, up until that point, Luchasaurus was kind of like, oh, he's great. But he was still kind of one of those gimmicky kind of wrestlers. He was tremendous. But when he turned heel and he had that new, darker music,
loved it.
He reminded me of like early 2000s Kane. Like he almost kind of came across as like, okay, now here comes dark Luchasaurus, and he's this unstoppable monster, and you can do so much with that. And I actually really enjoyed the dynamic of Christian with Luchasaurus. Like here's Christian, this incredible crap talker, and he's got on a leash, he's got this killer dinosaur. And I noticed the same thing too. And I'm glad you saw it as well, because Luchasaurus, he wasn't standing behind him like, here's my buddy. He was kind of looking at him like he was a piece of meat.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling with this story's not over. And Christian, I think we're going to see, there's a strong possibility Luchasaurus is still in cahoots with Christian. And I'd love to see it.
If he's not, and does go back to with Jungle Boy, which is cool too. I love that dynamic because it's fun, and they're the tag champs and all that. So Christian Cage could recruit a brother from another mother, Brian Cage, and so it'd be the Cage brothers versus Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. I know that would be kind of cool to have that, the Cage and Cage. But I don't know what's going to happen with this. I really loved the side of Luchasaurus heel, the dark side. It was much needed, and I think it would benefit him a lot.
No
he does need what?
2 cages, no waiting.
Yeah, there we go.
We're working pro. We got to come up with a better name. But yeah, I think that'd be interesting. That'd be cool.
But it would be. And you have Brian Cage versus Luchasaurus, Beast versus Beast would be pretty interesting. I mean, I do miss Brian Cage. I mean, did watch his match. I mean, the guy is pretty incredible in the ring. And I hope we do see him on AEW television once again in the right timing. It's been a while. It's been a little bit too long. I
do think, though, that Tony's got ROH plans with him, though.
Okay.
Like he's part of the.
If he could lead the charge
formally. It's no longer the Tully Blanchard Enterprises. It's now, I guess, Prince Nana is running things with that crew. But I think that's. Yes. I feel like if you're going to build ROH, and I think that's good for Brian Cage. Things didn't pop for him as much in AEW, and I feel like this is a great spot for him to be a big fish in a slightly smaller pond. I mean, he's a tremendous athlete, he's tremendously talented, and it's nobody's fault. I don't think it was anybody's fault because on paper, his whole storyline with Taz and with Darby and with Team Taz, on paper, it looked good. For some reason, it didn't click, and that happens. Sometimes the chemistry's not there. I feel like with this new crew, I feel like the chemistry's there. I feel like the John Gresham drama is kind of a work, and I think that we're going to see him again, and I think there's going to be more to that whole stable. I'd like to think that, but I wish him the best, but I do think if Luchasaurus stays with Jungle Man, it is going to be interesting to see who Christian Cage could bring to match monster for monster. I mean, is an existing AEW talent, somebody new? I mean, who's out there that Christian could bring in?
The only other monsters that are kind of flying solo that are in AEW Lance Archer is kind of in limbo, but I mean, I could see it, but I don't know. But it's tough to say. Talking about Brian Cage, potentially would he ever go to WWE? I don't know. Now that things are changing, but that brings me to your point. Like, I want to hear your hot take.
Yeah,
I know you have a hot take that we want to talk about before we talk about the last 2 segments of the show.
And I'll keep it quick because I know we got a lot to unpack, but it's something that just reading Twitter, reading comments here on YouTube pages, I feel like there's been a lot of news going on in the world of wrestling. If you haven't been noticing the last few weeks, there's been some changing things happening. But this whole thing with Vince McMahon stepping down from WWE and Triple H and Stephanie, basically Triple H taking over creative, a lot of hot takes are out there, and there's a lot, and of course there's going to be the trolls. There's going to be the folks out there that just want to stir stuff up, and then there's there's the diehard fans that just want to believe whatever they believe. But I started getting a little bit concerned when I started seeing some comments from folks that I consider AEW fans and also like that I trust, that actually have had legit takes, that are they come across as folks that don't just knee jerk to whatever is posted. And again, if bunch of numbers 619 posts some hot take, of course everybody's going to go, oh, that's right. But the fear that everybody seemed to have that with Triple H taking over WWE, that this is somehow going to be the death of AEW, that this is going to kill AEW.
Wow.
All the talent are going to leave. All of the talent from AEW are going to leave. All of Triple H's favorites, like Adam. I remember seeing Adam Cole he's going to leave. Well, and I love how Tony Khan shut that down. He said, he's got a 5-year contract with us. And of course, the trolls' response is, well, he could still ask for his release, but no, I don't. Adam Cole is not going anywhere, and that leads to my hot take: is AEW is going to be fine. In fact, Triple H taking over control of the creative of WWE is good for AEW, and we saw it last night. We saw it last night because we saw homegrown talent being pushed last night. We saw the future of AEW pushed. We saw so many storylines. it was almost like Tony Khan was like, "Oh, really? Well, watch Dynamite." And it was like, boom. Like he put on this tremendous show. And that's the thing. It's competition. Legit competition breeds that kind of fierceness. And I hope WWE gets great. I stopped watching in the mid 2000s because I just couldn't get behind it. It just wasn't for me. AEW
It's been a
brought
long
me back.
time since I've tuned in.
Oh, AEW brought me back. And I actually got my wife, who up until 2019 thought wrestling was stupid, and now she
Who would have
loves
thought?
it.
Look at her.
She's almost as more of a mark than I am. But you see, it gets to the second thing, which is one of those gimmicky things that WWE used to always do with tag teams. Can AEW and WWE coexist? Yes, they can. And it's usually the empty cans that make the most noise. We hear the terrible takes all the time, but we ignore fans like our own Lori Young. She's an AEW fan and a WWE fan, and she's very positive. You know, she's not sitting there bad having to choose between one or the other. AEW is they're not on at the same time. You can enjoy both, and if they were on the same time, you could record one, DVR one, watch the other. If you're a wrestling fan, and just watch what you like, and don't watch what you don't like. But the thing is, I feel like this is such a good thing because plus it also. WWE is that last little piece in this new wrestling landscape where there's no forbidden door anymore. ROH and Impact and NWA and New Japan. And now I guess it sounds like AEW is going to start working with either Joshi Pro or, we got DDT folks coming over, Lucha Under, everybody's, all these different organizations. Now we have an opportunity. Can you imagine in a couple years, AEW versus WWE Supercard?
Wow.
Could you imagine?
I would like to imagine that.
Do you think it's possible with this new leadership? Wait and see, right? It's going to wait and see.
I think it would take a few years for sure, just because I don't think the powers that be are fully out of the waters yet. It's still going to be a long time before the keys to the castle are really fully handed over. I know Crayfish, if he was here, he'd be singing the praises of NXT and what that meant to him and how much he loved that. And that was in the hands of Triple H.
The black and gold brand versus the rainbow.
Yeah, I don't
brand.
think, not knowing much about involved in WWE at all, I don't think this is a bad thing at all. I think getting fresh blood, not necessarily fresh blood, but yes, fresh blood essentially running the stuff and a change is good, because a lot of people have been, gotten stale of the rinse and repeat that WWE does often. And I saw a stat of Cody Rhodes of I'm happy for him and I wish him a speedy recovery and congrats on all he did. But the matches that he had they showed his match card. It was 30 matches and he won them all versus Seth Rollins. So Seth Rollins lost 30 straight matches to Cody Rhodes, something ridiculous of this. And so that is a great hot take. And I don't foresee anyone jumping ship anytime soon. The grass isn't always greener on the other side. And I don't think, some people, yes, have been very vocal, aka CM Punk, about Vince leaving and stuff, and things still won't change. I don't think necessarily there's that many. I could be totally wrong. Talent that would be like, oh, now Vince is gone. I'm gonna sign me back up to WWE right away. I'm ready to come back. I think the culture there still is a lot to go.
I think you agree. I mean, this is still the company that would send people that when they left the company, their stuff in a trash bag. Mickey James pointed that out. And let's not forget, Triple H used to be known when he was part of the Clique. There was a reason they were called the Clique. Jericho has gone on record to talk about how things weren't very hunky dory. The culture there was very, very brutal. And one of the refreshing things that they do talk about AEW is how positive and supportive the locker room is. And part of the reason Jericho, among a lot of others, pushes for that kind of positivity is because of their bad experiences there. And as much as Vince is the one that comes in and rips the script up and no, come on, pal, we're going to do something else. There's a lot of chaos over there, and it's not Vince. It's not just Vince, and there's a lot of cleaning up that has to do. I think this is a good thing because I think we will start to see some changes, like you said, instead of Cody just wrestling Seth Rollins for an entire year. You'll see
Yeah.
other things happen, but it's going to push them too, because now Triple H is on the line. He's got to put up or shut up. Now there's no excuse.
Yeah.
He could always say Vince was holding him back, but now if he's helming this thing, he's got to make some decisions that are going to say, hey, this is what I did. But yeah, I mean, but
You're
you
right.
got Adam Cole, everybody that's still at AEW. I mean, one of the things that's kept them there, baby, is because of how they're treated at AEW. And I don't think anybody's going to, but as somebody posted on Twitter, I wanted to cite him. I think I retweeted it. This guy listed, he said, if all of the former WWE talent went back to WWE tomorrow, this is what the roster would look like. He said Darby Allin, Sammy Guevara. You listed like a ton of talent that never set foot in WWE. Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks.
Hobbs.
Yeah. Ricky Starks. You got, I mean, granted, extra work doesn't count. Wardlow. Exactly. These are people that have never been at WWE. It would still be a tremendous roster. So I don't think this is a bad thing. I think it's a good thing.
You're right.
I think it's going to be tremendous. But if it also lights a fire under Tony to put on the kind of show we had last night, more power. Let's keep it going.
You're right. And that was an interesting tweet from Tony shortly after Mr. McMahon. I thought it was a little too soon, but I know Tony's an excited guy. But we'll move on to great hot take. Thank you for that. And got the wheels turning on myself too. And I didn't really think too much about that. And I mean, it is obviously huge news of the retirement of Vince and the thing, the keys handed over. But let's move on to Thunder Rosa. Defending her title once again, as we want. We want to see her as a fighting champion. She is starting to be a global fighting champion as well. This was one of those matches, one of the longer women's matches we've seen on television over the past few months, in my opinion, time-wise. It's just one of those showcases. I don't know much about her competitor. I know she beat her in Japan, and then now you got the rematch here on Dynamite. But when Thunder Rosa is clicking, it's so hard not to be such a fan, whether you like her or not, or you babyface or heel. Like her aggressive kicks and her spirit and her fight and her just, her heart just shows every time she's in the ring. So that's one of the main reasons we're such huge fans of her and supporters of her. And this was one of those showcases of it as well. I have to say, some of the match, wasn't necessarily clicking on all cylinders, but I love the overall presentation of this, the overall time they got. It wasn't a rushed match, as sometimes the women's division gets sadly, fall to victim of a rush match. But this was a good showcase, and I want to see her defend the title more and more and more. I'm all for her pairing up with Toni Storm, but also she's one of two women's belts, so you need to defend that more as well, not just being a tag. But so what did you think of this whole match and presentation of Thunder Rosa coming out on top?
Tremendous. And like you said, it's great to see a full-on quality women's match. And I know that the AEW women's division continues to get criticism, but I'm one that prefers quality over quantity. I'd rather have a solid one solid women's match than a couple that are just kind of thrown together. And let's not forget that there's still women's storylines being promoted. We had Anna Jay turning heel. We had Ruby. So there's still storylines going.
You're right.
But what I love about this direction that Thunder Rosa is going in, and it's very similar to how I've come around with the All Atlantic title that Pac has, is that Thunder Rosa is kind of becoming that world ambassador. She went to Japan, she wrestled, and she, you earned the shot. She's asking on Twitter, where should we go next? Australia, Europe, Canada.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the complaint a lot of people had about Jade being kind of pushed as, is she more of a star than Thunder Rosa, because Jade's showing up at all these local conventions. She's showing up at basketball games. She's showing up on doing radio press. I think this is great because you've got two paths for your two women's champions. Thunder Rosa is going global. She's going around. Yeah. She's showing up at all these other things. Plus, what that's also doing is, as like a global ambassador, you're continuing this rapport, this communication. Thunder Rosa, doesn't just show up and do a job and leave. She's talking to everybody. She talked to everybody in that locker room, and she's talking that place up. And this isn't the last time we're going to see, Yamashita. Yamashita. I've heard it both ways. But this isn't the first time we're seeing that she's going to be going around. And so she's kind of become that global ambassador, while Jade is kind of as our local hero. She's the local champion, and she's kind of more in the United States. And I feel like we're going to see more of these matches. Were there one or two botches? So yeah, I think if you look hard enough, you can find a botch in every match. But I felt like this was this was a different style, and I felt like Thunder Rosa thrived. There certainly wasn't any sandbagging in this match, For
no, I was paying close attention to that, and there was a lot of selling going both ways for sure.
Yeah, it was tremendous. I felt like I loved seeing Thunder Rosa go toe to toe, and I felt like both athletes brought the best out of each other. And I kind of like this new thing that Thunder does when she's fighting a striker opponent.
Yeah,
she pulled out her mouth guard and she's like, "Let's go." And she almost kind of pulled that out. And, I'm dying for this to happen. I've been trying to push this. It'll probably never happen. It's kind of like Marco Stunt turning heel. But I want, just at least once, I want to see Thunder Rosa versus Chris Cyborg. And I want it to be more of an MMA kind of style. Not like the Jake Hager, Wardlow kind of thing, but I'd like to see something more like that. But anyways, I thought it was tremendous. I love the direction Thunder's going. I do think that when they get the women's tag titles, we're going to see Thunderstorm kind of become a dominant force. But I love this like world ambassador mentality that they're putting Thunder Rosa in, and I love the dichotomy between that and Jade Cargill as kind of more the local champion.
That's well said. That's a very interesting point. About 6 to 8 months ago, I think it was when we were doing one of our Friday night shows, I asked Bonds and Crayfish, I was like, what 3 wrestlers on the AEW roster would you pick if you were starting a company? Mm-hmm. And I went the ambassador route versus the pure talent. And the 3 I chose were at the time Cody Rhodes, Thunder Rosa, and Ricky Starks. Because, Cody and Thunder were kind of that, community outreach and growing and, the namesake for that. And Starks I saw in this up-and-coming superstar. And so that's the way I was, and the way you're putting that as well. I mean, she's super nice. She will definitely, she took the time to talk to us for over an hour at All Out and just sat down and just chatted with us, which is really nice. And I think you make a very solid point of quality over quantity. I would much rather have a 10-minute battle than a 1 minute squash just to give someone TV time. I think as AEW fans, I think knowing the division and the division needing as much quality as possible, you're doing more harm than good than, in my opinion, just giving someone a 2-minute squash match on there. Yeah. So moving forward, before we move on to the main event, it's time. I want to ask you, do you think Chris Statlander will dethrone Jade?
All right. This is typical Dynamite download fashion. If I'm Bonds and I go with my brain, yes. If I'm SBD and I go with my heart, no, it's going to be someone else. If I go with my gut, I think here's the thing. Jade's got to deal with Athena, and I think that's going to be a tremendous feud that they're going with. But they're definitely grooming Statlander for that. They're grooming her. It sounded like they had that one promo where they said, Stat, you would look good with the world title. So we might see Stat and Thunder go at it before Stat turns her eyes towards the TBS title. What I want is I want Jade to take on Athena. Yeah. And beat Athena. Jade to take on Statlander, and everybody's thinking this is it. And Jade beats Statlander. And then the surprise upset, the newly signed Willow Nightingale defeats Jade for the TBS title.
Okay.
Willow Nightingale's
I like Willow.
Push. Love her.
I like her a lot. I think her personality and her in-ring stuff, and I really like her. I'm glad she's been featured on AEW lately.
Yeah. Will it happen? It's as likely as Marco Stunt coming back, turning heel, and creating a new faction. The new X Factor. Yeah. But I love Willow. I think, and I feel like she's pretty much close to sign. I think Tony might be deciding: do we send her to ROH or do we keep her? But I do think that they're building up for a Statlander versus Jade battle.
They're stretching that out.
Yeah, they've stretched that too much. We got to pull the trigger at some point, though. Because we don't want to call Jade Bird. We don't want to start calling her Jade Bird.
Right.
She's got it. We've gotten to the point where she's good enough. She's developed enough mic skills, in-ring activity that she doesn't need the title so much. Now we need to see what's going to happen now. How is she going to handle losing the title? And are they, you've got the perfect setup. You could blame it on one of the baddies. You could blame it on Stokely. There's so many ways you can go. But I almost would want a clean finish where Statlander gets the title in a clean finish. I don't think it's going to be Athena. I think that's a mistake. I think Athena's fantastic. She's too new to the roster to suddenly grab the title. I think Statlander's put the work in. Everybody's rooting for it. And you get that moment where she finally wins the title, beats Jade. It's going to be a tremendous moment. And then Willow comes in and cashes in a Money in the Bank or something. I do think I think that's what they're setting up for. Statlander versus Jade. And we love to see it. Yeah,
and I think to me, early on, Statlander, I think that would be the only one that could dethrone Jade. And I think humanize her. And her undefeated run and undefeated streak has been great. And I think her title run has been great. But I think it is time. It's time to have a change in that TBS title. And I think Statlander deserves it, being here from, pretty much day one and going through this and her character transition and her body transition and all that. Like, she deserves that. But speaking of that,
Jade's almost a face at this point. Even with her back, she's almost a face. So I think that's it. Anyways, we'll move on. But I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah, I threw us for a curveball, even though we didn't see Jade or anyone on TV. But this one, main event time, Bryan Danielson versus Daniel Garcia, the Battle of the Daniels. And Daniel Garcia has quickly, over the last 3, 4, 5 months, I've been much bigger fan. Early on when he was with 2.0, I was like, oh man, I wasn't sold yet, but I quickly got sold with him.
But you got
and
taste.
Wheeler Yuta.
You got taste.
2.0 does a great job. They're pure gold anytime they're on TV. I absolutely love them. But the Daniel Garcia and Wheeler Yuta are two young talents that I have quickly fallen in love with and appreciated their work ethic, their drive, and their physicality. And they really, they never phone it in. Both those guys never phone it in. Danielson himself never phones it in. And this was a very interesting match. Just the storytelling. I'm glad they kind of had him be woozy, and I was sold. I definitely was sold at some of the spots. Danielson was like, whoa, after he did the drop kick off the top rope and he just laid there, and then the DDT onto the cement exposed on the ground was pretty brutal. I saw a slow-mo video of Garcia's facial expressions. He did a great job selling, but I think this was the absolute best move, what they did tonight, and giving Garcia the win over Danielson, which not many people in AEW, not many people in wrestling have gotten a win over him, whether it have been a helped win or essentially just kind of pass out like he did, kind of protect Danielson. But Garcia, man, he was my top performer of the night in a packed show, which could have gone to either Hook, it could have gone to Moxley, it could have gone to just Jericho's pure presence of the all night. But I think Garcia, man, he earned this win, earned this main event victory, and was really impressive to me.
And he has evolved so much since he first joined AEW. And it's like when he was with 2.0, I did kind of like that trio. They were kind of treating him like, it's our son, we're going to keep him. But then, and I loved the transition when he joined the Jericho Appreciation Society, because up until that point on the indie scene and everything, he's being touted as this incredible pro wrestler, diehard blood, pro wrestler. And then he goes, well, if you're going to be a sports entertainer, then I'm going to be a sports entertainer too. And the crowd, no, that was such a tremendous moment. But he has evolved.
I love that.
And he's come so far. I think this was a great call. I felt like it was a little bit of a throwback. This might show my age, but a little bit of a throwback to the Shawn Michaels Owen Hart match from a long time ago, where Shawn Michaels came back and he passes out in the ring, and then Owen Hart's actually freaking out, and the selling on both Bryan Danielson selling the did he come back too soon thing. And Garcia's expression, I wasn't 100% convinced that there wasn't a real problem. We kept watching the ref getting ready to do the X.
I know.
And
I was looking for that too.
And Full Tilt Deb's not a big Bryan Danielson fan. And so she was like, throw that X, get him out of here. But anyway, hey, it's each their own, right? I mean, it's who am I to argue? But right. I thought it was tremendous. I thought both the guys did a great job. And this was, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't this the only match where the interference cost the other person the match? Like just that arm, the mysterious arm from Hager coming up from the mat. I mean, I don't think that's one thing I love about AEW is they don't overdo those kind of disqualifications. There's a lot of clean finishes in AEW, and I respect that. And in that way, because they don't go to the well too many times. It doesn't have diminishing returns because so when it does happen, when there is interference, you're like, oh no, why are you doing this? And I feel like it makes it more impactful when it does happen. But it's still, I mean, even with the interference, that Daniel Garcia won that match. He was dominating, and I felt like that was a tremendous way to end it. It put him over, and especially after the tremendous match that he had with Wheeler Yuta at the Ring of Honor pay-per-view. So big things for this guy, and it just encapsulates an entire show that highlighted the future, highlighted the young, homegrown talent. I mean, everybody was lifted up in this. Such a chef's kiss episode, and I felt like it was
iron
tremendous.
Sharpens iron. Yes. Iron sharpens iron. As the tide rises, all the ships rise. That was one of those exact ones. And I meant to say that with the WWE AEW comments. If they do any crossovers, that would be an iron sharpen an iron. You have a super show. Everyone wins. Both companies would win. Fans would win. One of those things that the industry is a win. And this one, you talk about the interference, and I mean that's the typical sports entertainment thing to do. Look at what WWE does; they do that all the time. So sports entertainers are just doing what sports entertainers would do. It's try to cheat to win. But the only DQ that I can ever think of, was FTR when who are the Ring of Honor guys that were Jeff Cobb and
Cobbs
his
and,
partner came out and they interfered. That was the only DQ that I remember as of late in AEW. But this one, you had Starks really having a game-changing, character-changing moment. Jungle Boy having a killer moment as well, not in the ring. Daniel Garcia going over. Roosh really elevating himself. Dante Martin and Sammy Guevara, and Thunder Rosa, all these,
You could even put Yamashita in there, because of her being a transfer, coming from Japan.
Sure.
But Thunder she looked tremendous. So it was putting over future talent. Yeah,
that was a great comment about that. On that, we'll end on that note. I really appreciate it. Next week, we're Crayfish and I are going to be doing a live show from Grand Rapids.
Woo! All right. And I'm going to go out.
We're going to be in town Thursday night. We're going to do a live show.
And I'm going to go out with my pick for the superstar of the night.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to go out with my pick. It is none other than the absolute star of the show, Mr. Woo! The revolution is televised. Ricky Starks. I wish I had the music queued up, but there you go.
I know. I should have had it queued up, but that was the talked about moment for sure, even though he came out with a loss and a huge spine buster from Hobbs. He came out on the ground, but they invested a lot in him with that promo, the vignette, 2 matches, and then the promo after the commercial break too. So I want the best for him. I think he deserves it. He definitely deserves it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Everyone for joining us for this episode. It feels good to be back. Thank you, Mindrunner. We'll do this again very soon for sure. You're always welcome. It's always fun to have you and get your hot takes on that and give us a taste of it. So, but everyone in the chat, we appreciate you for joining us, and we'll talk soon. Enjoy Rampage tomorrow night. It's going to be a good card for sure.